off of Key West, Florida, where galleons once fought with gunpowder and muskets. Today, the battle will be fought with horsepower and speed. This is the Bud Light Key West Battle on the Sea, a special event held on the waters of Key West, Florida, for the fastest offshore powerboat racers in the world. This special event follows the World Championships held earlier up in Atlantic City. We'll have the action from helicopters in the air and on shore. All the action brought to you by Bud Light. Anything else is just a light. And brought to you by HFC Household Finance Corporation, America's financial resource. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick, along with Mark Spencer, Key West, Florida, special events race. Mark, the World Championships settled. High Point National Championships settled. Why this type of format?
They're experimenting here in Key West with a new format. We're going to run 9 laps on a 14-mile course out here in the Key West Bay. The purpose here is to try to heighten the interest for the spectators. Now, for the purists who say that's not offshore racing, that's bay racing, I say, wait a second. We got 35-mile-an-hour winds here in Key West. The water's ruffled. The boats are going to get airborne. This is an offshore race.
They reported 6 to 8 foot waves to certain parts of this course with white caps on top. Look out. I hope it's a safe race. Wednesday, they had a half-point race, I understand.
2-day race here on Wednesday, and then today's race on Saturday. On Wednesday, the race was worth half points, and we had some very exciting racing action.
You know, Mark, being here Wednesday, now you saw a lot of action, and our helicopters were on the site. Superboats actually showed them the short way around the course. They are very powerful.
9 boats in the Superboat class early on. It was a very tight battle. Bow-eye to bow-eye between Charlie Marks and the Gentry Turbo Eagle, who had John Connor on the throttles, and Don Johnson in the Team USA boat. They ran deck to deck for almost 2 laps. You could have thrown a blanket around those 2 boats.
But the stress on Don Johnson's Team USA, they broke at this boat. Fabio Buzzi from Italy finished second on Wednesday, and he was, of course, our world champion last year here at Key West.
Fabio Buzzi has a diesel-powered superboat that he's designed, both the hull and the drivetrain. It's exceptionally fast. However, the waters here in Key West were a little bit too smooth for him, as they were for Peter Markey and the new superboat world champion, Little Caesars Pizza. The boat ran third most of the afternoon, had an engine problem late in the day, had to settle for 5th.
What about the open class now?
In the open class, a newcomer to offshore racing, Stuart Hayham set the early pace. He had J.D. D'Elia, who's the throttle man on Special Edition, who's won 2 national championships in a row. J.D.'s boat has been sold to the Japanese, so he took a ride with Stuart. They set the early pace.
Speaking of Japanese, M23 superhero.
6 boats in the modified class. The action was tight and furious. This big V-bottom had a little bit of an edge, but Agitator was second. They're going to make it interesting in Saturday's event.
August Bush IV prepares for his first offshore powerboat test as actor Don Johnson also readies his superboats. Now let's take a look at the sights and sounds of offshore racing. The Bud Light Key West Battle on the Seas will begin in just a moment. Jim Hendrick, along with Mark Spencer, back here at Key West, Florida. Mark, how about the weather?
Temperature 79 degrees, ideal for making good horsepower. The wind is blowing at 20 knots. You got a 3 to 5 foot swells out in the open water and a good chop in the bay.
Now, this will be a course that the spectators will enjoy. They'll be in close to shore here, Mark. and it'll be a 14-mile course.
Something totally new for offshore racing. We're going to run a lot of laps with a lot of turns. The boats are going to go out to checkpoint 1. This is where the big water is going to be, between checkpoint 1 and checkpoint 2. Look for some 3 to 5, maybe 6-foot swells out there.
And rollers will continue as they turn left to checkpoint number 3. Another left turn down the lower end of Key West around checkpoint 4, back into the smoother waters of the bay at the start-finish line. 9 times around this new format, a 14-mile lap for 126 miles. And the spectators gotta love it here in Key West, Florida today.
The man who makes it all happen, race director John Carbonell. John, tell us about the format here in Key West. You're trying some new and some very innovative things.
Right, we reduced the number of classes, and we're trying to professionalize the sport, and we're trying a lot of new concepts.
Now, you've shortened up the course. How will that change the sport of offshore racing?
Well, I think it'll help the spectator aspect of it and also the publicity and PR of it.
Now, here in Key West, the water conditions, even though it sounds like, hey, we're running laps close in the bay, it can get tough.
Right now, it's running 3 to 4 out there, and we've gotten a combination of both rough and calm waters.
Look into your crystal ball. You've been involved in offshore racing for a long time. What do you see as the future of the sport?
I believe it has to go in this direction in order to survive.
Well, the spectators may enjoy it, we may enjoy it, but how about the guys that have to drive it? Let's check some of the drivers.
You know, coming into the harbor area, 8 to 10 times will definitely give us a lot of spectator attraction, and hopefully attract more sponsorship.
If the courses stay small and tight, yes, I think the big boats will have to shrink to keep up with it, because the more turns you do, the smaller boat's going to do them better, and the smoother the water, the smaller boat's going to be better.
I think if we keep the format the way they have it styled for the race here, that the DVs are going to be uncompetitive, and we'll have to change boat styles for the following year.
Now let's check the Superboat fleet, Mark.
Gentry Turbo, In Excess, KC Aerospace, the Little Caesars Pizza, Lucky Strike, Richie and Don Johnson in the Team USA.
These are the most powerful boats in the offshore fleet, the Superboats, as they come out to open sea the start. The pace boat drops off. The rooster tails start to rise. This is the start of 126 miles of grueling racing.
Keep an eye on the 3 big cats, the Gentry Turbo Eagle, Team USA, and Richie. They should really like the smooth water coming out of the harbor. The DVs are going to make their time when we head out to sea.
Nobody wants to be the rabbit, but nobody wants to drop back too far when they hit that rough water in open seas. The Gentry Turbo Eagle right in front of us right now. Charlie Marks at the wheel. 45 is the Lucky Strike, Phil Mashinsky, and on the top of your screen, In Excess is starting to take the lead, trying to catch up to the leader, Fabio Buzzi.
Playing a little cat and mouse right here. Everybody's kind of feeling each other out to see what their early speed is. The V-bottoms are flashing some great early numbers, but so are the cats.
This, of course, the smoothest part of the course as they come out to open sea, looking at the Gentry Turbo Eagle.
At the top of the screen, though, is In Excess, the brand new superboat, V-bottom. He's able to run right alongside the cats, even in the smooth water. Then you go back to Little Caesars Pizza and Don Johnson.
The boats in back of the fleet take a little bit off the wash of these superboats here, so it's wise to be out in front in smooth water.
What you're not seeing here, Jim, is the early race leader. It's Fabio Buzzi in the Ricci. John Connors has got the throttles pinned. He's right behind Fabio, trying to keep an eye on him. Let's go up to Bill Glick in Chopper 1, who's with the race leader. Bill?
Here's your leader just after the start, Fabio Buzzi, in his 50-foot Fabio Buzzi designed cat, sponsored by Ricci. He's got the boat trimmed out nice. It's looking good. They're starting to come into a little rougher water. Charlie Marks, the Express Cat, just behind them.
As we look at the superboat action, the open boats are about to start.
The lineup in the open class, Black Thunder, Chairman of the Board, Dollar Marine, Hawk Marine, Melons Racing, Recovery, the Straight Man from Japan, Tuste, and Warrior.
Here's the start of the open class now. They likewise will have 126 miles to negotiate. 9 times around that 14-mile course we laid out for you earlier. Here's a late start from our Japanese entry, the Straight Man.
Tough break for Shigeru Hojo. He's come a long way to get a late start in the modified. The lineups are the Agitator, American Dream, Hot, Phoenix, Superhero.
5 entries in the OIM2 as they start out on their course on this day here in Key West. Now let's check superboat action. Let's go back up to Chopper 1 and Bill Glick. Bill?
And we got a race going down the backstretch here. Superboat class. We got Charlie Marks and a Gentry Turbo Eagle, a 46-foot Cougar Cat. And Fabio Buzzi launches it and almost stuffs it. Hauls back a little bit. Charlie Marks takes a slight lead. We got a battle of the superboats here, folks. We got 4 engines. We got 4 gas Gentry engines versus 4 diesel C-Techs. And Charlie Marks pulls slightly ahead.
The Bud Light Key West Battle on the Seas will continue after this timeout. Back here in Key West, Florida, I'm Jim Hendrick along with Mark Spencer, and up in the Chopper 1 covering the superboats, here's Bill Click.
We definitely got a battle of the superboats out here. These Apaches are all over the place. We got triple Merc Cruisers on Lucky Strike, triple Keycaver stern drives on NXS. Big Apache boats running side by side out here at Key West. What a battle in superboat class. Charlie Marks just a little ways ahead. He's within snapping distance.
And our coverage of the superboats continue. Now, Mark, there's still action going on in the open class, not too far behind.
Let's move back to the open, where likewise there's a great battle going on between 3 boats. You got the Hawk Marine, you got the Warrior, and you got Dollar Marine.
These guys are taking a little beating here, and that's a deep V, and look at the way he chime walks a little bit as he launches off of one wave to another. This is where the throttle man has to be quick. Get off the throttle when you're in the air, or you rev the engines and blow them. Hawk Marine power. Also, look at the bounce he takes, 20 to 25 feet from wave to wave.
There was some chatter coming into the race that this change in format wasn't really offshore racing. Let your eyes tell the story. Jim, we are having an offshore race. Stuart Hayham won the opening day on Saturday in the open class at 81 miles an hour. That's not going to get the job done today.
The superboats are now in smooth water, back in the bay. Let's go to Chopper 1.
Beautiful racing here. The superboats come through the harbor, come past the docks at Valerie Square and the Pier House at Key West. Look at this, folks. This is racing at its best, man. This is those superboats side by side. They come in and approach the turn, backing off a little bit. Let's see how these big feet bottoms go around the corner.
You can see that the rough waters between checkpoints 1, 2, and 3 have lowered the average speed of 79 miles an hour. First place on the right of your screen as they go into the turn is the Gentry Turbo Eagle, but look at NXS. He takes the shorter course. He's going to take the lead, Mark.
On the inside, they got that big V-bottom laid over just perfectly. Ralph Martin, whose son Trace Martin throttles the Little Caesars Pizza. He's on the gas sticks in NXS. They're the new race leader.
Our second place, both the Gentry Turbo Eagle, and third place is Ricci as he comes into the harbor. I think he has some problems.
Fabio Buzzi set the early pace, but right now he's marking his time. He knows he doesn't have the speed to keep up with the Americans with his big diesels. What he has is endurance. He's banking on the fact that the Gentry Turbo Eagle or NXS is going to have a motor problem. Here's Little Caesars Pizza. They're running in fourth. Sounds to me, Jim, like they got some sick power in the engine compartment.
They're starting to die down and return to the pits right now. They may be out of the race. Meanwhile, back to our leader. Let's take a look at Little Caesars. He's dying. He's going to the pits. He's done for the day. Here's our leader, NXS. But coming up the challenge, watch the right of your screen. It is going to be Gentry Turbo Eagle is going to take the lead once again, and what a race we have.
There's no question that Charlie Marks has more speed than NXS on the top end. The question is, can he run that big cat just as fast out in the big swells? Ralph Martin wants to keep Charlie honest in the open class. Take a look at this. Chairman of the board, Nori Sabunja with a Lamborghini-powered boat is averaging speeds almost as fast as the superboats.
That shows you that the water can be the equalizer. You get into the bay where they're running now, like chairman of the board, he's probably hitting over about 100 to 110 mile an hour right here, but you know he didn't do that out by checkpoints 1, 2, or 3, where they have up to 6-foot rollers.
Nori's in a must-win situation. He finished 5th in the race on Wednesday. He had some electrical problems with his computer system on that big Lamborghini-powered boat. He must win.
As we look at Mellon's Racing, currently in third place. Look at him. He's taking some bounces even by the spectator fleet. Here's the Warrior, Orlando Gomez. Gomez is in fourth place in the number 25. 3 men, driver, navigator, throttle man. As we go back to superboat action, it's the Gentry Turbo Eagle now heading out to checkpoint 1 once again. Charlie Marks and John Connor have the lead.
Charlie wants to put as much distance on In Excess as he possibly can here heading out to checkpoint number 1. Charlie won 6 of the 8 races during the regular season. He was totally dominating. Had a little bit of a disappointment up in Atlantic City. He wants to win this final race. In the UIM2 class, a bit of a surprise. A V-bottom leading superhero.
Yoshiro Katami from Hawaii. Looks like Bullwinkle. You can tell that design as he comes in now to the bay turn, just past the start-finish line in first place.
And less than 10 seconds behind, here comes the agitator. Let's take a look at the leaderboard right now. Gentry Turbo Eagles in first, and we just got a report from the course. Don Johnson in the Team USA, he's out with mechanical problems. Tough break.
A name missing from the racing circuit this year is 5-time national champion Al Copeland. He talked to us about this new direction in offshore racing.
I think offshore racing is what it takes to get the spectators involved and what they want, what they enjoy. The success and the future of the sport depends on the spectators and television, just like we've had, and I think that you guys have done an outstanding job, and I think it's great every time we pull the boats closer in. We did it, I believe, first years ago in New Orleans, and we're delighted to see people continue to do it. John Carbonell's done a fantastic job, I believe.
The Bud Light Key West Battle on the Seas continues after this timeout.
Back in Key West, not all the boats here are built for speed. This one's built for comfort. Let's go to Jim Hendrick.
The best seat in the house for any race would be on the Yacht Big Eagle, where we're on the fantail right now with world-famous Bernie Little of unlimited hydroplane racing fame. 4 straight consecutive world championships, never been done before, Bernie. Yet you've had world championships in offshores, too.
Yeah, we have, Jim. We started back years ago with Preston Hinn racing the Natural Light for us, and then we moved on to Joe Ippolita in the Michelob Light, and we won a lot of races there, and we had Sammy Garcia.
Tony Garcia.
Tony Garcia and Sammy James. That I think we won 8 in a row.
You won 3, as I recall, the end of one year, and 5 consecutive the starting the next year for an 8-race string.
That's right. And so needless to tell you that we're very involved in offshore, and as you see, Bud Light is sponsoring the Key West offshore race here as we do the marathon race, and we're really glad to be involved, Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light. And where do you make better friends than on the water?
That's right. And you know, the world-famous Michelob Light racing team in offshores, I remember, had at one time a very famous woman driver.
Yeah, we did. Betty Cook did an outstanding job for us, and we just love to see Betty still in the sport. She's just a great lady.
From that look at the past, let's go to the present. Nori Sabunjan, chairman of the board, is leading the open class.
Dollar Marine Specials coming up on chairman of the board. We got a 2-boat race now in open class. They're running hard, coming into turn 3. Dollar Marine is pushing it. They're trying to trim it out just a little bit more to make up some speed. We've got a classic race, Catamaran versus the V-bottom. But the Lamborghinis puts the RPMs up a little more to keep ahead. Hang on, folks, we got some racing going on here.
The Superboats are in lap number 3 as they come back in toward the bay, the start-finish line. The leader is the Gentry Turbo Eagle, Charles E. Marks. The driver, John Connors, a veteran, on the throttles. And guess what, Mark? Look who moved into second place this last lap.
Richie's now in second place as John Connor puts the throttles down just a little bit. The speed for your 2 leaders right here is right around 84 miles an hour. They're moving the pace up a little bit. The water is still really rough out around checkpoints 2 and 3, and In Excess is now kind of making up some time back here in the bay. The Cats are liking the smooth water.
The Cats are liking the smooth water, but he was leading at one point. He's dropped back to third, but he's still in the hunt as they are only about 15 seconds apart between first and third place. Here's your open leader, Dollar Marine Special, the number 169, and he's battling. Look, the chairman of the board come on and take the lead back as they come across the start-finish line, averaging a little over 77 miles an hour.
The battle for third is shaping up between Warrior and the Mellons Marine. An interesting story about Eddie Shear, who's running in fourth now in the Mellons. He came down to Key West with a big cat. He stuffed it and broke it up on Wednesday's action. He's had to move over to a V-bottom. As we go back to your lead here in the open class, chairman of the board on the outside, Dollar Marine on the inside.
They're leaving the safe waters of the harbor as we look at our third and fourth place boats making the turn by the yacht Big Eagle, where we earlier were talking to Bernie Little. Now they'll start out towards the open water, and water, of course, will get rougher. What a battle we have here. The Melons, as you said, not their number one boat, but they're going to give it a battle with what they've got today. Let's go up to the chopper and Bill Glick. Bill?
Fabio Buzzi and his new 50-foot Fabio Buzzi designed catamaran, 50 feet long. He's got his fixed Italian drives, C-Tech diesel engines. He's running hard. He's got an interesting capsule design there, a little bit different from some of the other boats. These capsules are completely designed to come free from the boat in case of an accident.
Here come the modifieds now to come in to complete lap number 3, and Superhero is the leader.
He's led from start to finish. He led all the laps on Wednesday. He's also leading here on Saturday's race. An average speed of 65 miles an hour, which might look a little bit slow, but the waters are tough out there.
And these are smaller boats also. This boat is an open class boat. It's the Straight Man. As they are completing lap number 3, they got a late start. They're 5 minutes behind the leader in class. The modified UM2 Superhero just went by, as you saw. Here comes the Agitator in second place.
Alan and Kirk Dunneman have got some time to make up here in the smooth water if they're going to give Superhero a run for the money. And in third place is Phoenix. This is a triple-engine outboard modified boat. It's the only outboard-powered modified boat in the fleet.
Superhero is also out of the bay right now, and our second place boat, which is going to be Alan Dunneman in the Agitator, is just making the turn. He'll head out to open water in the modified class here in Key West, Florida today. Look at the rooster tail start to rise as he gets out of the turn and starts back out of the bay to open water. Out to open water, chairman of the board leading in open class up the Bill Click in Chopper 1.
Chairman of the board, Nuri Sabuka and Hurley Stepp, having a hard time out here on the back stretch. It's picking up, it's getting rougher, and they're getting some good air time in this boat. You can hear it having to come off those throttles repeatedly as the boat goes airborne. Dollar Marine Special's been there dogging them the whole way, and they are making a move on them right now. Chairman of the board just cannot keep the boat down. The Dollar Marine Special blows on by.
I like this format, Mark. Lots of lead changes, close in action.
Over the years, offshore racing has been considered a no-man's land sport. The fans are now getting what they want, deck-to-deck boat racing.
Up until today, they called them pro stockers. Now it's semi-pro, and in class number 1, a slew of boats went out to sea about 2 hours earlier than the rest of the fleet. Here's the results of what is now known as Semi-Pro 1, talent count 37. Champion with August Bush IV, finishing second, his first time in the seat. Very good. First Defense and Hydrotech.
In stock class number 2, a little bit smaller boats. These are 24-footers with twin-engine outboards. The speeds aren't quite as fast. The results are Endangered Species, Assault, Kaio Motown, and Concattack. Endangered Species got the job done at 57.23 miles an hour.
And that's a battle for these small boats. The speeds may not be as high, but they get a rough ride in Semi-Pro 3. Also starting earlier today, and here are the results. Great Adventures, Team Spirit, Ken's Oil, and B-Wayne average winning speed a little over 64 mile an hour.
The battle on the seas, it doesn't happen without the aid of the Coast Guard. Lieutenant McCullough, what role do you and your men play?
We're responsible for the safety of the participants and for the spectators. The sponsors of the race submit a race permit several months in advance. We issue special regulations that close the harbor to ordinary traffic. We also put out a broadcast notice to mariners on VHF FM radio to help keep everybody out of the way of the race boats.
Offshore racing, it's about fast boats, but so is the Coast Guard. Tell us about some of the new special high-technology machines that you have down here in Key West.
We have the only 3 surface effect ships in the Coast Guard arsenal here in Key West. They ride on a cushion of air, and that allows them to attain greater speeds at better fuel economy.
The Bud Light Battle on the Seas here in Key West continues in just a moment. Back here in Key West, the Coast Guard has one of the best seats in the house. Mark Spencer's with a man who's been around about 30 years in offshore racing and has a new book out all about the sport.
686 pages, Sea Race, the history of offshore racing. John, how long did it take to put the book together?
Well, it took me 12 years of actually writing. The last 6 night and day. I collected data for 33 years. This is a virgin sport. This is a brand new sport in the eyes of history. So I had to start from scratch in most of it.
Take us back. Let's go back to what we call the beginning of the modern era and give us some of the bigger names, some of the people who've been really prominent in the history of offshore racing that come back to life in sea race.
Well, the first hero in the sport was Garwood, who was undoubtedly the most famous all-around boat racer in history. That was back in the 20s. Then comes the modern era, 1956. You have Dick Bertram. You have Sir Max Aiken of England, 22 plane ace in the Battle of Britain. You have Tommy Sopwith. You have the late Don Aronow. And now in the modern times, you have Al Copeland, Tom Gentry, who just crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Betty Cook, the first woman world champion. You have Charlie Marks, the first black in the sport. He came in big. He won a world championship. We have a lot of names that have a lot of meaning in other walks of life besides just powerboat racing.
We're nearing the end of lap number 6 with a little over 28 miles to go. Here's the leader, Gentry Turbo Eagle in superboats.
All season long, this boat ran as the Eric's reality. Up at the World Championships in Atlantic City a month ago, Tom Gentry had some problems with his boat. He decided, hey, I can't win the World Championships. I'm going to put my throttle man and my engines in this boat and see if we can give him a run for the money. Running in second place, and if you take a listen, Jim, I think they've got some problems in excess. Back here to Gentry Turbo Eagle, and John Connors is now the throttle man for Charlie Marks. He's got all the horsepower, he's got the top speed, and he's the odds-on favorite.
Now on lap number 3, when they came in here, it was a better turn for the In Excess. It looks like you're right, Mark. He has slowed down as he is in second place, heading out to open sea.
Motor problems for In Excess, and so does Fabio Buzzi in the Ricci. He's running number 3, but as you can tell, the rough ride on that boat, he's not operating at full power. Fabio has to hope that Gentry Turbo Eagle will break. And now let's go back up to the open class and Bill Glick. Bill?
Then we got Stuart Haim in the 35-foot Jaguar Recovery, running down the backstretch at Key West. J.D. D'Elia, normally from Special Edition, is in on the throttles today, helping out in this new Jaguar Cat with Kike for stern drives. Routing the rough stuff in the backstretch of Key West. They're running a little bit slower here than the other open class. Kind of feeling it out, seeing how everything's going.
Now checking the open class as they come in to complete lap number 6, and it'll leave them 28 miles to go in this race. The leader is chairman of the board with Nori Sabunjo, averaging a little over 76 miles an hour.
Just 5 miles an hour off the pace of the superboats. You can hear those Lamborghini engines as they come through the harbor. They are really winding tight. In second, still keeping the heat on, is the Dollar Marine Special. This is a brand new V-bottom on the circuit, and he's showing some impressive performance.
An impressive paint job, a pretty boat. The 169 currently running in second place here today. Our third place boat is the Warrior. Finished 5th on Wednesday. Orlando Gomez improves his position up to third place in the number 25.
Jim, I think it's important to note here that you've got V-bottoms running in second and third in the open class, and Stuart Haim, who won on Wednesday in the Recovery Cat, is way back in 5th. The reason why is we've got some 6 and almost 7-foot swells now out there around checkpoints 2 and 3. In the 4th place position in the open class, Eddie Shear in the Melons. Again, remember, he came in with a Cat, broke the boat up, had to go to his backup boat, which is a V-bottom. He's marking time, wants to score some points. Eddie won 2 races during the regular season. He's a tough competitor.
Yes, he is. And, of course, he would like to have that number 1 boat out. It'll have to be repaired for races in 1990. Here's your 5th place, Hawk Power.
Second place overall in the national points race. Mandy Fernandez has been playing the bridesmaid's role all season long. Again, this Cat is behind 3 V-bottoms in the open class, but Nori Sabunja, who's also in a Cat, is leading, so it's a little hard to say who has the edge in the smooth water, who has the edge in the rough water. The Cats or the V-bottoms, I think it's really more a matter of setup and driver ability.
Here's the Melons around the turn and heading back out to open sea, and currently riding in 4th place. Hawk Marine Power also leaving the harbor now, and we've had our leaders in open, now complete, lap number 6.
Back to the superboat action. Ricci has got a problem. You can tell where they're breaking water up there forward on the bow, and it looks like the boat has a crack in it. It does. The rough water is taking its toll on Fabio Buzzi's hull. The hull is starting to break up. I don't know whether Fabio knows that or not. The boat has got some problems right there. He's got to take a little easy as the boat gets a little bit airborne.
I don't think he would know at this point that he has a big, large crack on the port side of that hull. I'll tell you this right now, We thought it was engine problems. It's hull problems. It's not riding right. Here's the straight man, number 90, who had the late start earlier today.
A totally revolutionary design for Sugar. Oh, the agitator in the modified class really takes a hop. The water is really tough. Shigeru Hojo in the straight man, as we were saying before, started a little bit late. He's making up time now on some of those open class boats.
Here's your second place boat, the Phoenix, in class in UIM 2, and also takes a big bounce. The water is getting rougher as we near the end of this event in Key West.
A great contrast in style here, Jim. As they move into the harbor, they can put the throttles all the way down and run these boats at almost top speed. But out around checkpoints 2 and 3, it is really rough. Atlantic City kind of rough as the swells really start to break up.
We've got a problem.
And we got a sad situation here. Brand new hull, 39-foot Express, swamped. He broke something. We don't know what broke. Whether stern drive split out the back, the bottom split. He swamped it there. Got a line on it, try and keep it from going down. It's a very sad situation for owner Dan Campbell from Kansas City, Missouri.
Saltwater threw $500,000 worth of equipment. Here's our attrition report in superboats. 4 boats are out. In open class, we have 3 boats that are down and back. Modified has lost 3 competitors so far today.
Attrition really has taken a toll. Let's check the leaderboard. In the Superboat class, Gentry Turbo Eagle continues to lead. In the Open class, Chairman of the Board, Nori Sabunja, and in UIM Class 2 Modified, Superhero. Let's go down to Jim in the pits.
In the Pro Stock, a brand new Champion Marine Special. And of course, it's throttled by Jeff Sofer. And the gentleman to my right, your left, is August Bush IV. August, representing Anheuser-Busch now, not only as a brewery rep, but as a driver. Why?
Well, Jimmy, you know I've always liked things that go fast, and I drove the Unlimited a few years ago at Lake of the Ozarks. It was quite an experience. Jeff offered me to drive his boat, and I wouldn't turn it down.
Actually, this is a different type of ride, though.
Quite a bit, maybe 90 miles an hour difference, but you got a lot rougher water, and you got somebody that you have to trust, and I trust Jeff.
More Bud Light Key West Battle on the Seas in just a moment. Like any town like Key West, the economy gets a boost when the powerboats come to town. The organization of the American Hotel and Motel Association here in Key West, here's the president, and his name is Don DeFano. Don, actually, you are the vice president and general manager, I understand, of the Pier House, and this is important to you.
Oh, very much so, Jim. The races are our November event. People come from all over the world to see them and then later come back to visit us.
Now, Jerry Tinlett, Vice President of the organization, General Manager and Vice President of the Ocean Key. There is really no competition among the hotels. You all work together at an event like this.
Absolutely, all of them. There are 31 major hotels here, and we're all in this together. It means millions to our economy.
And, of course, Key West gets the benefit of all the media exposure, and they all enjoy the boost in economy here at Key West during powerboat racing time.
Back on the course in the racing action, Fabio Buzzi has a problem. The Ricci's dead in the water, and it looks like he's taking on some of that Key West salt water. Looks like Fabio Buzzi's day is finished.
Well, he's taking some water on. You can see how low the stern is sinking, and he may have problems before this day is over. It looks like his competitive day here in Key West is over.
Tough break for Fabio Buzzi, who thought he could win the race, relying on his reliability. He's the one with the problem. This man, Charlie Marks, he's running good. He has all afternoon. John Connor, they're setting the average pace right around the 80-mile-an-hour mark, running just fast enough to stay in front.
They are completing lap number 8 with one more 14-mile lap to go, and this race is history. If they can maintain, they will win in Superboat action. Meanwhile, In Excess is still right in there. Number 96, just about 5 seconds behind as he comes in to complete lap number 2 in the Deep V.
It's amazing that this boat has been able to keep the heat on Charlie Marks as well as he has, considering you can hear they've got a motor down. It sounds like one of their engines is starting to miss, and yet they're still averaging speeds above 80 mile an hour. A phenomenal performance for this, their first outing in this new boat.
No doubt about it, open action. Here's a man who has probably run the smoothest race all day long, Nuri Sabunja, chairman of the board, number 55. A little over 72-mile-an-hour average as he leads in open class action with one more lap to go.
As you look at the point standings now in open class, an interesting development. Nori Sabunja, who's in first, Warrior, who's in second. If it stays this way, when you combine the points titles from Wednesday with today, Nori Sabunja will win the championship because Stuart Hayham is running a very distant 6th place right now. Warrior averaging speeds of close to 75 miles an hour.
You're looking at your second place boat coming into the harbor for the last time before the checkered flag. As we look now at more action, out there is the Mellons racing team getting a little rough ride. They are currently third in open action.
Eddie Shear in the Mellons running third, and that's a very important development for Nori Sabunja. He wants his V-bottom to stay ahead of recovery so that he can put enough points up on the board to win the Open Class Championship. It would be his first major win this season.
And they're doing it. Mellons is doing their action right now with that backup boat, as you said earlier. They stuffed their Catamaran. Here is the UIM2 action coming in for the last time before the checker flag. Superhero number M23, Yoshiro Katami from Hawaii, with that Bullwinkle-style boat, comes in with one more lap to go, averaging a little over 62 miles an hour.
Fabio Buzzi might be having a problem in the Superboat class, but he's got reason to smile because the leader in the modified class is running a whole design of his. Here's the Phoenix running in second with 4 outboard engines. And in the open class, the straight man, they had a problem right from the start, Jim. Have never been able to work out the bugs in this boat. It came all the way from Japan. I know they would have liked to make a little bit better showing here in front of their American friends.
Yes, and they look like they're just taking a Sunday afternoon ride. Not too much speed, but yet riding very smoothly.
Here's the leaderboard. Gentry Turbo continues to lead in the Superboat. Chairman of the board in open, and Superhero in UIM2. No changes.
Hey, we're with Mr. Mayor, who's just been in office about 10 days, Tony Terracino. Tony, you've been a long-time resident of this community.
That's right, 42 years from New Jersey. You know where New Jersey is?
Yeah, I knew New Jersey.
Exit 13, Elizabeth, you know.
But you've been here 42 years. You've seen the powerboats before.
I saw the beginning. Dr. Magoon, in fact, our saloon was headquarters. When I look at the boats today, they look like rowboats in them days. I mean, the power, they're beautiful.
Is it good for your town?
Oh, beautiful. Where can you get weather like this? The color of the water.
You're selling.
Well, I'm sort of confused between the girls in a bikini and the boats, but you know.
From powerboats to politics, Mr. Mayor.
Key West is an exciting place for a race, and this town really comes to life where the big boats come.
The checkered flag is waiting for the winners, and we'll have the finish of the Bud Light Battle on the Seas in Key West in just a moment. Back here at Key West, Florida, it's going to be the finish for the Gentry Turbo Eagle. Looks like they're going to finish with a checker flag marked as we finish this day in Key West.
The perfect cap to an ideal season for Charlie Marks. He won 6 of 8 races during the regular season. The World Championship just slipped away from him, but he got his revenge here in Key West at average speed of around 81 miles an hour. Of course, the boat could have gone faster, but John Connors played it smart. He did just what was necessary to put the win up on the board. A lot of miles traveled today in a combination of both smooth water and rough water.
Here is a boat that was right behind all day in his baptism of fire and does a fine job. In excess, number 96.
Driver John Garrett and Ralph Martin, the throttle man, have reason to smile. On their maiden voyage, they've looked really strong. They developed engine problems halfway through the race, kept the boat running, and still kept the heat on Charlie Marks.
When we got the winner in open class, chairman of the board, they're loving it, folks. They're loving it. How sweet it is. Chairman of the board, he's got the paddles down, wide open through Key West Harbor. What a beautiful sight. Congratulations, guys. You've earned it.
Indeed. Congratulations to Nori Sabunja and Hurley Stepp. They've had a tough season. There were times when Hurley said, hey, maybe we shouldn't run these Lamborghini engines. But Nori said they will work. They've got the horsepower, they've got the weight, they've got the durability. And here in Key West at the end of the season, they made everything click perfectly. They didn't have a problem all afternoon. And at times, they were running speeds faster than the superboats.
Are you ready for this? Limping home, restarting with that huge crack on the port side. Here comes Fabio Buzzi from Italy.
Jim, I think Fabio's running for his life, heading for the cranes. He knows that the boat is taking on water. Incredible that he was able to get it started again. I'll bet you he's going to cross the finish line and then head straight to the pits and try to get that boat out of the water. He's got a lot of extra weight on there.
Here's your second place finish in open. The Warrior, number 25, Orlando Gomez, and a fine finish for that team.
They came from nowhere to finish second place here today. In third place, Mandy Fernandez in the Cat, Hawk Marine Power. Mandy's been finishing in the bridesmaids role all season long, as we mentioned. Again today, a very competitive run for him, but not quite good enough to keep up with Nori Sabunja.
Now let's check the UIM2 as they are coming in to take the checker flag. And it's going to be the winner, M23, Yoshiro Katami from Hawaii.
63.42 for Yoshiro. This is his first race. How do you do the sport of offshore racing? He puts a win up on the board and finishes just ahead of Phoenix, Eddie Ryan, in this quad-engine, outboard-powered, East Coast Marine prepared modified boat.
Now let's get down to Mark in the pits with the winners. Mark?
Charlie Marks' big win, the perfect cap to a perfect season.
It was fantastic out there, Mark. I keep telling you, though, I can't become too full of myself with this thing. You know, when I look at the fact that I had a fantastic season, I was lucky all year. Up in Atlantic City, unfortunate for John, he blew the bottom. He gave me his engines, he gave me his crew, he gave me John Connors. So, I mean, you know, what else can I really ask for? And to cap off the season like that really, really makes me feel good.
The water conditions today, how were they?
From 1 out to 2, they got worse as the day went along. In fact, there were a couple 6-foot holes out there. But by and large, there were about 4 to 5. But they were so close together, Mark, that you couldn't get up on top of them. So there was that constant bang. But then again, John knows what he's doing. So when we got to the rough stuff, we slowed down. He built up enough lead in here, you know. I mean, he took me around this corner down here beautifully a couple times, you know. That sort of thing gives me a thrill.
Now, there were a few of us on the dock who were wondering, boy, these guys got an awfully big lead. Why isn't John cooling it? Was that ever going through your mind?
No, because I kept looking over and we really weren't running that hard. You know, we ran hard down through here, which is the misconception. But once we got outside, we slowed down. So we never really ran that hard. I mean, it was foolish to run hard in the rough. So John just came back off of it. If you notice our speeds, they probably got less and less as the laps went on.
Congratulations, Charlie, and it's on to the 90s.
Very good, Mark. Thanks a million. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Nuri, in a day that was actually marked with a lot of breakdowns, you seem to run flawlessly, a perfect race.
Well, the last 6 races, we found the trick about these Lamborghini engines, and we haven't broken down, I mean, serious breakdowns. And today, before the race, Wednesday, we had an unfortunate problem. We had the computer breakdown, but we fixed it. We started 20 minutes behind everybody and finished 15 minutes behind. We made up 5 minutes. And today, Hurley did a fantastic job. All I did was try to keep the boat underwater.
Yeah, right. Just Hurley. Actually, the water conditions weren't as bad as was forecast.
Well, no, it wasn't as bad as the forecast, but it was rough between 1 and 2. And you really had to just sit back and take your time and make sure you didn't mess up out there. Once you got around that, you could just do what you wanted.
Nuri Sabunja, the driver, the throttle man, of course, Hurley stepped as the winners overall in open class. Now back to you, Mark.
Thanks a lot, Jim. A surprise winner in the modified class. Yoshiro, how did your boat perform against the Cats in the Key West swells?
Yeah, monohull is better today. Very left water.
Now, will you race on the American circuit next year?
Yeah, East Coast, all East Coast, American East Coast and European Venice to Monte Carlo, 1,500 miles. I won't try, yeah.
Now let's check the results of the day's action here at Key West. A Superboat, Turbo, Gentry Eagle, In Excess, and Ritchie in that order. In the open class, Chairman of the Board, Warrior, Hawk Marine Power, and Mellons. In Modified 2, Superhero and Phoenix, the only 2 finishers in that order. And so it's been a successful 2-day event. And actually, a lot of people watch this one, Mark.
No surprise in the Superboat class. Charlie Marks posted his 7th win of the season. Kind of a mild surprise in open with Nori Sabunja. He's been knocking on the door, and in modified, Tommy, boy, I didn't know about that boat. He's going to be a real threat next year.
Well, what was successful, the fact that there is a few attritions, few engine breakdowns, but nobody really got hurt.
The water today was a lot rougher than I think people expected. The wind really kicked up, and there was a high attrition rate early in the race, but then it sort of settled down and the speeds came back up.
Now we take about a 3-month break, and then it'll all start all over again. But these crews in all classes will continue to try to improve their boat for the next time they meet. On behalf of Mark Spencer and our entire broadcast crew, I'm Jim Hendrick from Key West. So long.
The 1989 Bud Light Key West Battle on the Seas has been brought to you by Bud Light. Anything else is just a light. And by Fruit of the Loom, we fit America. A promotional consideration has been provided by the Pier House Resort Hotel. Enjoy the sunset from your seaside balcony. Let us pamper you in our new Caribbean spa. Enjoy an herbal wrap and dine in Key West's top-rated gourmet restaurant. And by Thrifty Car Rental. When the world's finest boat racers want to move about town, they choose Thrifty. This has been a production of IPI Sports.